everyone, welcome back to the Book Cave with me, Jenny. Please ignore my stack of books back here. I'm kind of in the middle of reorganizing, as you can probably tell from the little bit of different angle I have here. Hopefully the lighting turns out a little better than it looks. But all of this to say, I'm here today with a book tag. It is the Fall Into Books tag. I was tagged by Courtney over at the Book Nook Corner, and it was created by Lachlan at Lach's Library, and I'll have both of them linked down below. But let's get right on into the tag. So this has 13 questions, and the first one is, show us an autumnal book that you love and feels deserves more attention. I went with Wilder Girls for this. This was published several years ago. Let me see if it says here. It was published in 2019. And yeah, I just really loved this. It gives all the fall vibes. It is set on an island in the fall. It's a remote boarding school. And the tagline is, they told us to wait and stay alive. This is definitely like a horror book. And I've seen it compared to Lord of the Flies, which I can definitely agree with. It did have those types of vibes. But yeah, I don't think I've seen maybe one person talk about this book. And yeah, it deserves so much more hype. If you enjoy those kind of like abandoned school sort of stories, yeah, this would definitely be up your alley. Question 2 is my most anticipated release for fall of 2025, and that will be Under the Oak Tree. This is volume 1, but volume 2 of both the novel and the manga is coming out. I've only read the comic, but I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to get into volumes 1 and 2 of the novel. And just the cover is absolutely beautiful, and then the sprayed edges as well, and you have the little flowers there. And yeah, this is just a very interesting story, and I'm very excited to see where it goes with everything that we got introduced to in the first little bit. The next question is to show a book that has an autumnal or cozy book cover. This is actually an extremely new release. This is The Phoenix Keeper, and just like that orange, definitely is an autumnal orange, and then the kind of darker colors. And yeah, this is about a magical zoo where there is obviously a phoenix keeper and a griffin keeper, and they're kind of rivals in that they have different ideas of how to conserve these magical species, and it just sounds really fun, and the cover is just really cute. And yeah. Question 4 is, what is your favorite suspenseful or spooky book? And they are actually sitting right back here. Goosebumps, Nightmare Room, Spine Tinglers, all of those early 90s middle grades. I don't know what it is about them, but they are like the absolute best books. And yeah, I always have loved them. And I will say, for Halloween specifically, Goosebumps Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns is the one I would definitely recommend for that. It does take place on Halloween night, which is always fun. There was that, and then there was Egg Monsters from Mars is another perennial favorite of mine. I actually had to get a new copy because I had read it so many times, and I still continue to read it. And yeah, it just kind of fell apart, so I had to get a new one. But yeah, any of the Goosebumps are just great. The Series 2000 as well. just something about R.L. Stine. Question 5 is, what fictional character would you love to go to a fall festival with? This is kind of a hard question for me because I don't necessarily read a whole lot of autumnal or any really seasonal books. So I don't really know that any of them would be like great to go to a specific like fall festival with. There are plenty of characters that I would love to meet. However, I would say to go to a fall festival with, if I was younger, I would love to go with Cam Jansen from the Cam Jansen Mysteries, because she just has so much energy and is just an absolutely fun character. The same with the Boxcar Children. I would love to meet them. I can't really think of any that are standing out for like adult or young adult books for some reason. Question 6 is a book you're grateful to have in your collection, and I actually have 2. That is Shield of Sparrows, and I absolutely love the cover, and the sprayed edges are gorgeous. And I don't know much about this book, but I did see some hype, so yeah, I got a hold of it, and I'm very excited about that. The other one is Heavenbreaker, and again, we have the sprayed edges. And this was a birthday present from my best friend, and this one sounds absolutely amazing. It's touted as a fantasy, but in all honesty, it is sci-fi. Like, the whole premise sounds extremely sci-fi. They are on Mars, I believe. Okay, no, it's not necessarily Mars. But right now, there is nothing left. Just icy white rage, and a need to make House Hauteclair pay. Every one of them. Even if it means writing Heavenbreaker, one of the few machines left over from the war. And here, in the cold terror of space, the machine and I move as one. So yeah, it's obviously very sci-fi, and this was one that, again, it wasn't really on my radar, but then when my friend got it and I read that premise, I was super excited to read it, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Question 7 is a comfort read, and this is actually one I'm also very grateful to have in my collection, and that is Aria. I absolutely loved Aria when I first started reading it, and this is a sci-fi manga that follows this girl here, Akari, when she moves to Mars to become a gondolier and take people on tours around Neo-Venetia. So you can kind of tell what that is based on. Obviously, it's based on Venice, and you can see that in the background. But there's just something so calming and just sweet about this, and seeing Akari make her friends and everything. And then this particular edition, like the gold foiling and everything, it's a larger size. This is also printed on acid-free archive quality paper. So, like, I love that as well. And then we get these beautiful little inserts at the beginning of each one. And yeah, so this is definitely a comfort read for me, and I have reread it multiple times. Question 8 is, what are 2 to 4 books on your fall TBR? And I actually have 6 here. So I have Immortal Consequences, which is about a school in limbo, basically. It's between the afterlife end life, so it's just kind of like a holding pen, and they have to go through this school and compete and everything to basically have a choice to move on or stay there as like teachers. So yeah, that one sounded very interesting, and it's also on the Goodreads challenge. Then I have Leech, which is another school-based story about a teacher who gets taken over by a parasite. Just very creepy and autumnal. Then, yet another school-based one is Immortal Dark, which this one I believe is university. Our main character's sister goes missing in a university of vampires, and the main character wants to know what happens, so she goes to that university. Again, very autumnal. Then we have The Wild Huntress, and this is set in the same world as The Drowned Woods and The Bone Houses. I absolutely loved The Bone Houses. Then The Wild Huntress is about basically the Fae wild hunt that takes place every so often and follows 3 characters who take place in it. Then I have The Crimson Crown, which is a retelling of Snow White, yes. But it is from the point of view of the wicked stepmother. And I did read Malice, which is Sleeping Beauty from Maleficent's point of view. And that was definitely an interesting one as well. So I was interested to see this take on this villain. And then the final book I have for this question is Brahms the Child Thief, which is a retelling of Peter Pan. But I believe it's supposed to be closer to the original Dark Tale. And of course, Peter is a fairy. As you can see, he has little pointed ears. And that's just always kind of felt like an autumn type of read to me. And obviously, this being horror makes it very much an autumnal read. Question 9 is, what is the last audiobook you enjoyed? I've been liking most of my audiobooks. I want to say the last one I listened to that I did really enjoy was Accomplice to the Villain. That was just very funny, and I actually laughed out loud quite a few times. And yeah, if you've seen my review for that, I just thought it was very funny, had a lot of good action, and that ending, the cliffhanger it left me on, I cannot wait for the next book. So yeah, I would have to say I did really enjoy that one. Question 10 is, what am I most looking forward to in the fall? I would say the cooler days, for sure. Like, I love it not being hot. However, at the same time, I do not like the shorter days. So that's kind of like a trade-off there. I also like the fact that the sun comes up later in the day, because I don't like being woken up by the sun extremely, extremely early. So when it comes up later, then it doesn't wake me up as early. So I do enjoy that as well. And of course, the fall leaves and getting to see my dogs run through them and have their fun with that is another bonus. Question 11 is an autumnal book that you thought you would like but didn't. And that is You Again. And I thought from the cover, like the cover was very autumnal. It was covered in leaves, and like both the characters were in jackets and everything, and it just looked very fall-like. And I will say I didn't particularly care for the characters. I felt like they were kind of unlikable, but that it was written to be that way. They were supposed to be unlikable. And yeah, but that disappointed me a little bit. I didn't feel like they changed all that much to where I could understand where they became more likable or anything like that. I didn't think they made the best couple either. And then I was also very disappointed that there really weren't fall vibes. This kind of jumped years because they kind of dipped in and out of each other's lives for quite a while. I would have enjoyed it more, I think, had it been like it was October, November, maybe even some September, December that they like were interacting, but it was kind of all throughout the year, and there was nothing particularly like seasonal about it. Even like had the fall things been like, oh, they went and got hot spiced cider, or pumpkin donuts, or carved pumpkins, anything like that, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But again, there really wasn't a lot of that, so it was kind of a disappointment to me. Question 12 is, what are your favorite shows or movies to watch in the fall? I don't really have shows that I prefer to watch in the fall. For movies, though, I do have quite a few, and they're mostly Tim Burton. So, 9, which I think is extremely underrated. This is just a very fascinating movie, and like I love the whole design of it, and I just think it's fascinating and would love to see more about these characters, but I'm not really sure how they could continue it. Then, of course, we have the classics Corpse Bride and The Nightmare Before Christmas. Love both of these. I think I like Corpse Bride slightly more, although I like Sally's aesthetic more than Emily's. I do really like Emily, as a character. I love both the movies, but yeah. And then, of course, we have Edward Scissorhands. I saw this when I was very young, and so it's just kind of been one of those that has stuck with me as a favorite. And then we have the OGs, Hellboy and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. Again, just peak like fall vibes from these. And yeah, extremely fun movies. And I always love to rewatch them. The last question is to tag some people. So I'm going to tag Christy over at Lucy Goosey Vault, Tiffany at Beautiful Minutia, and also Charlene at Coffee and a Book. And yeah, that's everybody I think I'm going to tag. And if you're watching this and would like to do the tag, consider yourself tagged. If you just want to answer the questions down in the comments, you can. I always love to talk to you all in the comments, see what your answers to the questions are, what books you're reading, what you think of the books I've recommended here. And yeah, that's everything I have for you today. So I will see you next time in the book cave.